Formula One likes to pretend it's the pinnacle of motorsport, but in the 90s, some of the backmarker cars were so slow they looked like they were powered by AA batteries. So in 1996, the FIA introduced the 107% rule. Basically, if you didn't qualify within 107% of pole position, you couldn't race. On paper, it made sense. Stop embarrassingly slow cars from wobbling around the track like lost shopping carts. But in practice, it was brutal. Small teams like Forti, Pacific and Minardi were wiped out before the lights even went out. One year, Jos Verstappen, yes, Max's dad, missed the cut in a hopeless Simtek. The poor guy didn't even get to race, just packed up and went home. And the rule has haunted teams ever since. HRT in 2011 turned up to Melbourne and failed to qualify by a country mile. Their car was so unfinished, people joked it was held together with duct tape. The FIA just waved them off like, nope, not today, lads. The irony: fans loved the chaos of backmarkers. Cars dodging each other, blue flags waving like a disco light show. But the FIA decided dignity was more important. Today the rule still technically exists, though stewards bend it when they feel sorry for teams. Translation: if your car's rubbish, we might let you race anyway. Depends how funny it looks. Imagine buying a ticket to the Indianapolis Grand Prix in 2005. You sit down, grab a hot dog, wait for the start, and only 6 cars line up. 6 out of 20. Why? Because of one of the dumbest rules F1 ever had. Back then, teams had to use one set of tyres for the entire race. No tyre changes unless you had a puncture. Great idea for cost saving, terrible idea for safety. At Indy, Michelin realized their tyres were about as durable as wet tissue paper. After a few laps, they started shredding on the banked oval. Ralf Schumacher even crashed at 200 miles per hour in practice. Michelin told the FIA, "Our tyres aren't safe, can we change them?" The FIA basically said, rules are rules. Tough luck Bridgestone teams, Ferrari, Jordan, Minardi, were fine. But all 14 Michelin cars pulled into the pits on the formation lap. Fans booed. The world laughed. Formula One turned into a glorified Ferrari test session. To this day, people call it one of the darkest moments in F1. Imagine paying hundreds of dollars for tickets and watching half the grid bail before turn 1. The FIA learned the hard way. Sometimes, rules shouldn't kill the sport they're supposed to protect. The 2014 season had one of the weirdest rule experiments ever. Double points in the final race. The idea was simple: make the championship fight last until the very end. The FIA thought fans would love it. Spoiler, they didn't. At Yas Marina, every finishing position was worth double, so a win gave you 50 points instead of 25. The reasoning? Keep the title fight alive. The reality? Fans called it a joke. It felt like the FIA was handing out Mario Kart bonus stars. That year, it almost caused chaos. Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg went into Abu Dhabi with the championship on the line. Rosberg had a shot only because of the double points rule. He even called it artificial. Imagine losing a world title because someone decided the last race counts twice. It's like playing Monopoly and suddenly the final lap around the board is worth double rent. In the end, Hamilton won fair and square, and the rule was killed immediately after. But for one cursed season, F1 genuinely tried to turn itself into a video game, and failed spectacularly. Refueling was once seen as the height of strategy. Cars could pit, fill up, and go faster on lighter fuel loads. Sounds clever. In reality, it was a traveling circus of explosions. The rule started in the 1990s and lasted until 2009. Teams played with crazy pit strategies, short stints, heavy fuel loads, undercuts. But the real highlight was the danger. Mechanics standing in t-shirts and helmets next to cars pumping flammable liquid at high pressure. What could possibly go wrong? Plenty. In 1994, Jos Verstappen's Benetton went up in flames when fuel sprayed all over the car. The fireball was so big, the pit crew looked like extras in an action movie. In 2008, Felipe Massa famously drove away from the pits with the fuel hose still attached, dragging the whole rig down the lane like a medieval mace. Refueling did create tension. Fans loved guessing strategies, but it slowed races down with endless pit stops. Eventually, the FIA banned it, citing safety and costs. Today, people miss the drama, but not the risk of mechanics being turned into human torches. In the early 90s, F1 basically turned into a tech arms race. Williams came up with active suspension, a system that adjusted the car's ride height in real time. The result? The FW14B was glued to the track like a slot car. Nigel Mansell won the 1992 title while barely breaking a sweat. Other teams tried to copy it, but Williams were miles ahead. Combine it with traction control, semi-automatic gearboxes and ABS, and suddenly drivers were more like passengers. Mansell even said the car was so good he could take some corners with one hand. The FIA panicked. If the tech kept evolving, drivers wouldn't matter anymore. So in 1994, they banned everything: active suspension, traction control, launch control. The idea was to bring back the human element. But in reality, it was the Wild West. Teams still tried to sneak in hidden systems. Benetton was even accused of having secret traction control software buried in their code. Active suspension never returned, but the legend of the FW14B lives on. Fans loved it because it was a masterpiece. The FIA hated it because it made everyone else look like amateurs. One of the weirdest F1 rules is the ban on customer cars. Back in the day, smaller teams could literally buy last year's Ferrari or McLaren and slap stickers on it, instant grid filler. But the FIA decided F1 should only be for constructors. That meant every team had to design and build its own chassis. Noble idea, but it bankrupted half the paddock. Teams like Super Aguri, Spiker, and HRT never stood a chance. Imagine trying to design a car from scratch when you've got the budget of a lemonade stand. The ban also killed some brilliant underdog stories. In the 70s, privateer teams could buy a Cosworth-powered chassis and actually fight at the front. In the modern era, that's impossible. No wonder the grid has shrunk so many times. Building a car is insanely expensive. Every few years people argue about bringing customer cars back. The FIA always says no, but deep down fans know it would spice things up. Imagine a small team rocking a year-old Red Bull and sticking it to Mercedes. Chaos, beautiful chaos. If there's one rule that makes fans groan, it's grid penalties for engine parts. In today's F1, each car only gets a limited number of engines and gearboxes per season. Use too many? Boom, 10-place grid penalty. In theory, it keeps costs down. In reality, it creates comedy. Drivers regularly start from P35 on a grid of 20. Fernando Alonso once joked that his penalties were so big, he should start from his living room. Fans often needed calculators just to figure out where cars were actually lining up. It gets worse when multiple drivers take penalties at the same race. The FIA released these Kafkaesque spreadsheets explaining why someone is 17th instead of 13th. Broadcasters spend half the weekend trying to explain it, while fans just want to see cars race. And the cherry on top, sometimes the fastest driver of the weekend starts at the very back, turning Sunday into a demolition derby of overtakes. Exciting, yes, but also completely absurd. The system still exists, and every season it ruins at least one championship fight. The FIA's logic, it's fair. Fans' logic, it's nonsense. Nobody tunes in to watch accountants shuffle grid positions like Monopoly cards. At this point, penalties feel less like cost control and more like punishment for daring to push the limits. 8. The one-lap qualifying fiasco. Qualifying is one of the most exciting parts of a race weekend, but in the early 2000s the FIA decided to spice it up with one-lap qualifying. Each driver had just a single flying lap to set their time. On paper, it sounded dramatic. No traffic, no slipstream games, just pure pressure. But in reality, it was chaos. Track conditions mattered way too much. If you went out early, the track was dirty and slow. If you went out late, maybe it rained. Sometimes a top driver would get knocked to the back because a gust of wind ruined turn 1. Fans hated it, broadcasters hated it, even drivers hated it. Michael Schumacher once said it felt like rolling dice, not qualifying. By 2006, the FIA gave up and switched back to the knockout system we know today. But the era left a legacy of random grid orders that made Saturdays unpredictable, even if they destroyed Sundays. Still, one-lap quali had its moments. It gave us bizarre grids, random pole sitters, and underdogs shining in weird conditions. But as a rule, it was proof that F1 sometimes invents solutions to problems that don't exist. And the funniest part, they genuinely thought this would add excitement, when in reality it made the sport look like a talent show judged by the weather.